All right, traders, just a quick update here. It is Monday the 17th, and it is just before 12 o'clock. And this is just a quick 5 minute breakdown on what we're seeing in the market so far today. So we got a nice bounce from from basically from the lows. We're basically a little bit higher, right? We had that selling pressure come in right around the open. Part of the blame, I think, for that was Europe. Europe was very weak around our open, and we were trickling down all pre-market. So we have bounced here a bit. You could see from my looking at the open scanner, percentage from the open scanner, you could see what's really been outperforming is metals and mining. Banks, they've got a couple different things, but a couple of things that I highlighted are metals and mining, which are doing very well right now. Could just be a little bit of a short covering bounce there. Also, banks, which we've mentioned that we've seen some call buying in that space. I'm going to go over a couple of those charts in a minute. And then if you look, the defensives are actually underperforming today. So, tough to talk about these defensives because they have been looking better XLU and IYR, but which there was a little bit of call buying in IYR. We saw some call buying in the sister REIT last week in VNQ. So maybe it's an entry point to possibly get into some defensives, but it just shows you that you can't really hide in the defensives either right now. So let me go through. And this was my strategy. I had this up at the beginning of the video, but I sent this out last night. What do I expect for the week? Of course, the main event is the Fed meeting. You're going to hear a ton about that. If you turn on CNBC, you probably have a good percentage chance to hear them talk about that. But I think that in terms of what could actually happen is probably a little bit of short covering. I think I don't just as longs don't want a lot of risk or event risk. Shorts don't want that either. And I think that considering how this market has been going, and that we've been moving down. Last week was a down move. That some of those there might be some profit taking and a little bit of short covering for the next couple days, and then anything goes on Wednesday. I will probably set up a trade at some point during the week, some type of a catalyst trade for that. But you could see what's going on here. Let me go. So that's kind of my thought for the week, and I think there are some day trading opportunities with that possible short covering. A lot of interesting to see how things are behaving with the value areas. IWM, which is leading us higher, small caps. Remember, the financials are a big weight in this. They're up 32 basis points, so could be a nice turnaround as well technically for IWM. Again, closing print will be most important here. I mentioned XME is your best performer in terms of sectors. Look at this thing go up pretty well. Again, it could be a little bit of short. I'm going to say short covering again. Sorry, but also the gold miners. But you could see interesting looking bar. Morgan Stanley, which we saw calls in last week, you could see so far we are bullishly engulfing this candle. Remember the version point of control being taken out. So now it becomes, at this point, you're not in these. Notice that we're butting up against resistance here. 40.59 is your resistance for just for the day in Morgan Stanley. Also, Citigroup doing the exact same thing. That's another name that we saw some call buying and repeat call buying in last week. 55.90 is your level there. Again, you could write these levels down. And then if we go over to start to look at some tech names, I jumped in a little bit of Apple this morning. I jumped in some Microsoft as well. I got out of Microsoft already. Apple, you could see, I almost got stopped out in this, but it is above value. And if you shift over to the 1 hour as well, this looks pretty good. So I actually might add to my Apple here because I think I'm a little bit lower than my first entry price. You got some work to do here on the hourly, but your support there is 167.42 bottom of value. I'm also looking at Google today. Google, I think, can make its way. You got a nice uptick there in Google on the hourly. Notice it's already making its way through the value area. I just noticed that it came back and retested. So there it goes, and making a pretty decent move there. So a couple other names, a couple other areas of the market that I'm watching are the semiconductors. They're also, if you look at the performance change from the open, they're one of your best performers. They're up 1.2%. So things like Broadcom are outperforming in that space. If you look at the Qs, which I think I still have up here, this is XME. This is your best performers in XME. We'll look at Qs and we'll look at semis, and then we'll call it a video for the day. Let me see if I can bring this up for Qs. Just to see what the movers are. That gives you a kind of a good picture of what's going on. Alexion is actually your best performer. Also, Micron, which reports earnings this week. But you could see a lot of the semi names: Lam Research, Microchip, Applied Materials. So all these are bounces. There's Broadcom, which I just mentioned, up 1.6%. So I don't think I need to bring up the semi ETF. Well, let's just see if we just want to drill down a little bit further, and then we'll call it. This video is 5 minutes. So that's perfect. Also, the VIX is still up for the day as I'm waiting for this to refresh, but has been coming in and settling down since about 10 o'clock this morning. Yeah, OLED is actually your best performer. So you can always find something by looking at the movers. Skyworks is also doing pretty well today. All right, so that is it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Have a great afternoon and day.